We all know Valorant has felt pretty stale for a while now due to the lack of content, boring map pool, and the current state of ranked. But it always makes me wonder what game is coming up that's going to change the genre for the better. Recently, I've had the opportunity to try out a new game called Strinova. Strinova is a brand new tactical shooter game that is both fast-paced and team-based, and it's in 3D with a unique anime-like art style. It offers a diverse gameplay alongside a very high skill cap, while still remaining new player friendly. And with hundreds of thousands of pre-registrations, there has to be a reason so many people are loving this game. Strinova has a number of features you'll probably recognize if you have some tactical FPS experience, like the team-based gameplay, familiar gunplay, agent abilities, and even half defusing the spike. So it should feel easy to hop right in since you guys already have some tactical shooter experience. And even if you don't, it's extremely new player friendly. There's one pretty insane twist though. You can turn your 3D character model into a 2D character model at any time you want, making yourself practically paper thin. This makes you much harder to hit, and you take less damage if you do get hit. This mechanic is known as Stringify. I find it particularly useful to use when you're reloading. This one mechanic causes the gameplay to be much more dynamic than you'd expect. I'm not usually the biggest fan of third-person games either, but the Stringify mechanic makes this game feel pretty competitive. It gives you a surprising amount of outplay potential in gunfights by giving yourself a chance to live in sticky situations you'll normally die in. Being good with the movement and the mechanics gives you a lot to work with and makes it have a high skill cap. Stringify doesn't just allow you to turn your character into a 2D model though. You can use it to glide as well. Since your character model practically turns into a piece of paper, you can take these wind shafts around the map to fly around to vantage points that can be very useful. While we're talking about cool mechanics, there's another one that I'm pretty fond of. When you're aiming down sights with a rifle, you're practically fully accurate while moving, which makes ADSing feel pretty worth doing in Strinova opposed to how it feels at times in other tactical shooters. I like the variations they've created in this game between accuracy and inaccuracy. Something I haven't mentioned yet is the economy. When you load into a game, you have set weapons based on the agent that you've selected, and you can use the credits you get during a game to upgrade their weapons and abilities. Rather than purchasing weapons or abilities outright, you just improve your weapon and character throughout the game, which I think is interesting because it brings a lot of strategy into play when it comes to upgrading, especially as a team. Now that you understand the basics a bit, let's talk about the maps a little bit. Currently there's a few in here, and they've all felt like their own unique experience with different themes. My favorite one is probably Space Laboratory. There's a zero gravity room in the middle of the map for rotations, and you just jump really high into the air. I think it's fun to get into fights here, but they're all designed well and have their own quirks. The game modes are something you're probably going to recognize if you have played other tactical shooter games. To start off, there's a team deathmatch mode, but Strinova has a unique take on it. It's 3 teams of players instead of 2, which I think is a really fun take on the game mode because it encourages team play while still feeling chaotic like a regular deathmatch. I've been enjoying this game mode a lot. Next is Demolition. This is basically your standard Valorant or Counter-Strike bomb defusal type of game mode. I think this game mode is where the Stringify mechanic really shines the brightest since your life is so valuable in it. Getting good at this game's mechanics will really help you shine when you're trying to clutch a 1v3 or any other situation here. And lastly, they have Escort. If you've played Overwatch, you'll probably recognize this one, but the goal is to either escort the payload to where it needs to go or defend it to push it back where it came from. I found the snipers and SMGs to be really good in this game mode since a lot of it is trying to either hold or push a payload to either side of the map, which results in quite a bit of extremely close range or really long range fighting. By far, one of the best features of the game is the instant replay system. Literally right after you get out of a game, you can install a VOD and play it back. It's awesome. I know we've all forgotten to clip things before, so this is a nice way to go back and prove it to your friends that you really did hit that clip. And it's pretty insane to think that they already have theater mode. I'm not going to say which company needs a replay system, but one of us does. All of this makes me believe this game is going to shine when it comes to competitive play. I think one of the most important things in a game these days is to balance the skill gap while being new player friendly, and they've done a great job with that when it comes to the variety of game modes, skillful game mechanics, decent sized map pool, and most importantly, their diverse roster of agents. Every agent I've played has felt entirely different from the last when it comes to the playstyle. This is particularly due to each agent having a different and unique primary weapon. There's agents like Raichi, whose whole kit is based around sniping, which I find pretty useful in a game mode like Escort, and others like Lewin, whose core ability is based around gathering information and recon, which is pretty useful almost anywhere. My favorite agent so far has been Michelle though. I find her kit to be universally awesome since she places turrets that end up being a benefit in almost every situation. There's a lot of diversity in the agents, so I'd recommend trying all of them out to figure out your playstyle, since there's a lot of playstyles you can make work in this game. Speaking of different playstyles, you can change your kit up quite a bit outside of your primary to match your own playstyle. You can change your secondary and grenades to a variety of options. For example, I could change my secondary to an SMG, a shotgun, a semi-automatic pistol, a flamethrower, or even a sword. The grenade options are pretty sick too. You obviously have standard grenades like frags, flashes, and smokes, but they also have unique options here outside of those. The Tattletale attaches itself to a wall and works as a sensor, the Interceptor, which intercepts enemies' tactical items, a healing grenade that simply heals you, a slow grenade that puts paint on the floor to slow down enemies, and my personal favorite, which is the Windstorm grenade. This basically works as a crowd control item and throws any enemies hit by it into a wind gust, making them pretty easy to kill. There's also unique agent skins and weapon skins for every agent and weapon in the game, which I know some of you guys are going to love. These agent skins also change the effect of your gliding, which is really cool. For this game being so new, I was surprised to see how many cosmetics they have in their game that are so good so early on. Now let's get in game and look at a couple of these agents real quick though. I picked one of my favorite agents, Michelle, here. As you can see, I can place her abilities that work like turrets on walls, which is pretty crazy. She's basically a sentinel fully designed to lock down sites, so she's pretty powerful when it comes to defending. I like her playstyle coming from a tactical FPS background due to being able to peek and play off my utility, which gives this tactical agent feel. On attack side of Demolition, I've been playing Lewin mainly because she's a highly effective recon agent. Her core ability is to throw a dagger that performs a recon through walls, and I find that ability to be pretty invaluable. I also just enjoy her gun. It's a pretty accurate assault rifle that's good at spraying. These are just a couple agents I wanted to show off here, but there's a lot more, 15 in total to be exact. I just wanted to showcase a couple I think are cool so you guys can see how different they are. Another agent I liked a lot was Celestia. She's a support type agent that can recover allies' shields and her own. Her ult will grant her and someone else some armor, and then she can teleport somewhere else on the map, which is pretty cool. And just those three agents we talked about, one is great at defense, one is an awesome support, and one is an incredible attacker. While I was playing Strinova, I came to realize the high potential this game has. Getting better with the Stringify mechanic is really satisfying. Every time I play, I feel like I'm improving with it, and it's helping me win more fights. It's one of my favorite mechanics in a game that's released for a while due to how rewarding the skill gap can feel when you're beating someone with just movement. Another shining part of the test was the variety of maps. Every time I played a map, it was still feeling fresh and dynamic, even if I hadn't played it a couple of times already. I think this is due to the large number of agents in the game. No game is ever going to play the exact same, and you're always going to get a different experience when you queue up. And with 5 maps already in the playtest, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming to Strinova in the future. The same could be said about agents as well. With 15 beautifully designed agents combined with anime art style, we know a lot of players are going to enjoy it. I see a bright future in the game for both competitive and casual players. The fact that we already have a replay system for a playtest is another thing that gets me excited for this game. I feel like replay systems have been dying off in recent years, and a lot of players in the tactical FPS community really miss them. So that's a huge win for Strinova. Since a lot of you guys already play tactical shooters, I think you're going to enjoy this game a lot when you get your hands on it. Although it might feel like a pretty big swap at first going from a first-person shooter to a 3D shooter, Strinova makes up for that gap with mechanics like Stringify, being accurate during ADS while moving, and by having tons of unique abilities scattered across all their agents. In a way, it does feel similar, but the key differences make it a unique experience you're only going to get by trying this game out. Strinova is overall a fantastic tactical shooter, and I'm excited for the release eventually. But if you want to play sooner than the release date, make sure to click the link in the description to pre-register for the game on the Strinova website. There's going to be a beta test starting on October 10th, so make sure not to miss it. You'll also get some awesome rewards for pre-registering when the game releases, and you can wishlist the game on Steam right now to get updates on when the full release of the game might be. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments how excited you are for Strinova.